All right, everybody, let's roll. Welcome to AZ Wordsmith's Stories That Matter. For those of you who don't know, this is Badass and Brilliant. This is our 2-year anniversary. Why are stories important? And I'm going to roll through this because this is a lot for me to memorize and I didn't do it well. Stories foster compassion and understanding. They help people appreciate the complexities of the human condition, I think. And they recognize the shared humanity that we all have. Stories convey our sense of right and wrong and our organizational culture, the expectations we set for ourselves and others that we know. Stories shape our worldviews, our concerns, our fascinations, and our lives in general. Reynolds Price once said, our need to tell and hear stories is essential. Stories are second in necessity after nourishment, before love and shelter. We can survive without love or home, but rarely in silence. Our second storyteller of the night, J.P. Perpich. Just watch out for the feathers.
Thank you. More butter. I'm going to baste it. All right. Good evening. Hi. Sorry about that. I'm JP. Nice to see you tonight. Thanks for coming. Geez, I forgot where it was. Those are Steve's now. Anyway, nice to have you with us tonight. I was a child of the 60s. Back in the 60s, parents didn't supervise. No, they just trusted natural order and Darwin. And, in the 60s, we weren't forced to wear helmets or seatbelts, or there were no car seats. They just threw us in the back of a truck with a lawn chair. And in the 60s, sunscreen hadn't even been imagined yet. My mother and her friends, they would slather baby oil all over their bodies. It was an open invitation to UV rays. We did crazy, risky, insane, stupid things. But somehow, excuse me, well, I got the feathers. I think I got it. No, there's one more. But somehow we survived. We used to actually have to look at the hands on a clock in order to tell time. And we didn't have iPhones, we had landlines. And we did things like, we dug caves in our neighbor's backyard without him knowing, of course. And we dug this one cave, the three of us, and we dug it like 15 feet back into the hill. But my friend, who eventually became a civil engineer, he decided that it would be more stable if we left some kind of support. So instead of using wood, his idea was, let's just leave a dirt column in the middle. It's actually pretty smart. And I was elected to be the first guy in there. So I crawl into this thing, and I'm trying to work my way around this column, and I got stuck. And I am screaming for help, and they're just laughing outside. And I was in there for like hours. And I'm sure they were concerned about my welfare, but I think they're a little more worried about our work of art. So anyway, that thing caved in months later, and luckily we weren't in it. I remember my parents, for Christmas one year, and some of you will remember this. Again, we'll see some nodding heads and some quizzical looks. They bought me this thing called a flexi. Now, a flexi was a sled on wheels, so you could ride on the land. And you would lie down on it like you would a sled, right? And it came with some safety features, like in order to steer it, it had this sort of set of handlebars, right? but it had this incredibly tight spring so that you couldn't, turn too far. Well, genius that I was, decided it was a little bit too constricting, so I removed the spring so that that thing would rotate like a helicopter blade. And it was made for one person. Sorry about that. So I decided it'd be better with two of us on it. So I had my friend right in the front. Now you're supposed to lie down on these things, but no, there wouldn't be room for two of us. So he sat on the front with his feet on the steering device, and I was behind him with my back to him with my legs outstretched, and we launched that thing down a steep incline into oncoming traffic doing 40 miles an hour. We did such nutty. I mean, we would play games. We would make up games on our block, and we would use crushed beer cans instead of balls because they were more plentiful. And we would walk up and touch an electric fence just to see what would happen. We'd drink from garden hoses when we were thirsty, and we'd do all kinds of nutty things. We would go into rivers with incredibly swift current, and we'd try to swim to the other side, and by the time, if you made it to the other side, you were hundreds of yards downstream and too tired to swing back. When I was a kid, my first taste of alcohol was I was like 5 or 6 years old. Yeah, I was very, very young. And I went to my parents' liquor cabinet, and I took everything out of that cabinet, and I poured a sample of each of those things into a bottle. And I had built this fort in the garage, right? This little cool fort with the walls and stuff. And I put that bottle full of that lovely mixed cocktail between two studs, grabbed the tube from the aquarium, put it in the bottle, snaked it up into the wall, and I would lean over and take a sip of that thing every couple of minutes. And I sipped that all afternoon, and I threw up all night. Oh, yeah. We would do things like, a friend of mine, his father was in the military, was a Marine, and he would bring home these MREs. I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's a meal ready to eat. You know what that is. And it comes in a can. Back then, a can. Now they're like wrapped in plastic. So you have a sealed can, and we went camping one time, and we took a few of those things with us, and we had a couple for dinner. And then we had this great idea. I wonder what would happen if you threw them into the fire. Well, nothing happened until about midnight, and we were awakened by explosions, and it was like a damn war zone. And we ruined the tent. Sleeping bag got burned a little bit. Boy, we sure had fun. We would make forts in the canyon. We'd go around and collect these fallen branches, and we would, take mud and wild grass, and we'd make these hay forts. And so, one of the stories that I remember the most is there was a group of us. There was a group of families, maybe 6 of us. And so we went down and we leased some property down in Mexico. Now, back then, I don't know if it's true today or not, but you couldn't rent and you couldn't buy in Mexico, but you could lease. And so there's this chicken farmer who owned this beachfront property. And this place was called Campo Bad News. And we would go down, I swear to God, and there were 6, 7 families, and every one of us had Ford Econo lines. So we would circle the vans, and now, being that it was down in Mexico, I'm sure you can imagine there were fireworks involved. So my friend Spencer and I decided to play around and experiment with some M80s. And if you're not familiar with an M80, it's literally a quarter stick of dynamite. And so he got his brother involved, Scott, and so we would light the thing and run, hide behind a sand dune, and we actually timed the fuse, and it was very consistent. It was 9 seconds. Every time, 9 seconds. So Spencer had this great idea. he said, hey, why don't we take one of these M80s and put it inside a jug, and we'll throw it in the ocean, you know, from the rocks, we're up above, and then we'll watch it explode. We'll all be safe. That's a great idea. The jug we found was a gallon glass jug. And so Scott, his brother, volunteered to be the one to throw it, and I was the one who would light it, put it in the jug, and screw the lid on. And Spencer didn't want to have anything to do with it, even though it was his idea. So he would he went back. He was like, you know, many, many yards back. Later on, he said, I was just looking out for adults. So I like this thing. I pop it into the jug. I screw on the lid. I step back. Scott's holding on to this thing. And I'm thinking, throw it, God, throw it. And he's standing there. And I think he's counting down the 9 seconds. Later on, he said, I'm just waiting for the right wave. Well, I think you can probably imagine what happened next. I mean, the world went white. And I lost about 3 minutes of my life. I have no idea what happened between then and a few minutes later. I'm limping my way back up to camp with these 2 guys next to me. And I got wounds all over my body, and I'm bleeding out of every single one of them. Scott, now, he almost tore a tendon. And Spencer, who thought he was safe, had 2 identical V-cuts next to his eyes. Now, had he been 2 feet closer, he would have spent the rest of his life as a blind man. So we get up there. Of course, the parents are going crazy. They're flipping out, and everybody's running around. My brother broke his ankle because he was trying to run find a nurse. And so it was just mayhem and chaos. I'm not kidding. And somebody else got on a motorcycle and crashed a motorcycle. So they threw us into the van. They rushed us back to San Diego. We get up there, and they called the family doctor. And it was a Sunday, but he showed up. Yes, back then, doctors actually made house calls. In this case, an office call. But anyway, he was there. And when he saw the sorry sight, he just laughed. He just laughed at us. And I don't know how many stitches later, we left his office, and I know that Dr. Hanna somewhere has a picture of 3 wayward boys wrapped in bloody towels. So, you know, I don't want to over-romanticize those wonder years. No, seriously. I mean, it wasn't all, you know, Hallmark cards and flower power. I mean, shit happened. Bad stuff happened, you know, from taking those ridiculous risks. I mean, 3 of us almost died on a beach in Mexico from doing that kind of crap. And we would end up with concussions and broken ribs and near drownings. And, you know, I get it. I get how different things are today. I mean, hell, if I had a 5-year-old kid today, I'd force him to wear a helmet just to brush his teeth. But you know what? I wouldn't trade it for anything. Thank you all.
Thanks, JP. This is the second time JP has been up here to tell the story, and you know, does a really nice job. He came to us from California a long time ago, and is in his. Okay, how many from California? Come on, let's see it. Yeah, right. Okay, so okay, just the way of the land. Anyways, you know, he's busy in the theater and did commercials and TV and all kinds of stuff. So he's, many moons ago, but lives here with his wife now and is very happy in our happy little burg. So I asked him what he wanted to be when he was 10 years old. And he said he wanted to be a football player, which is, okay, that's fairly normal, I think. You know, football player, fireman, policeman, doctor, or whatever, you know. Indian chief, sure, yeah. One of the stranger things when I asked him was if he could be in a Hollywood movie, and who would he want him to play himself? And he said himself, that's self-defeating. You know? Well, doesn't help me. Doesn't help me at all here. Anyways, so let me see. What else did he say? If you could lead a parade through your office, what type would it be? It would a big brass band followed by a herd of stampeding buffalo. And that would be typical, yes. And the last question was, what would the title of your autobiography be? And what was the title of your autobiography? You don't remember? No?
I do.
Okay.
Who the hell cares?
Okay. Thank you, JP. Couple of quotes. What we think or what we know or what we believe is in the end of little consequence. The only thing of consequence is what we do. Okay, that was from John Ruskin. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Have a safe and happy holiday season, and be careful.